Om, Om, Om. So this sentence was the previous sentence that we read was referring to the gaze of the Buddha or the light which was revealed from the Bhrukuti or the eyebrows, the center of the eyebrows, a light illumined and illumined the 18,000 worlds in the east. Maybe they have some mystical understanding of that. I do not have grasp of that. But basically it is saying that it reveals the conditions of the beings who are there, which is a result of their own karmas. Because the karma theory is so much integrated into this thinking, which is same in the Buddha, in the Hindu dharma as well as Bauddha dharma, and also to a great extent, or maybe fully, in the Jaina dharma as well. Karma being the main thread based on which the whole phenomenal experience is being explained. Now on the next page 17, it says, there were also monks living in mountain forests who, through persistence, possessed purity of conduct which they protected like a precious jewel. There were bodhisattvas as numerous as the sands of the Ganges river, practicing by giving dana, perseverance, kshanti, and so on, the 6 perfections, who also became visible to the light of the Buddha. So what this is referring is the light shone by the Shakyamuni Buddha, illumining the different worlds, revealed many bodhisattvas in those worlds. So here I highlighted the sentence to show how the bodhisattvas are to be identified, and so that one may practice these and know the importance of these first of all in their own life and practice them. Saying that there were also monks living in the mountain forests in those worlds, who through persistence possessed purity of conduct, which they protected like precious jewel. So here too it is saying that our practice should be very persistent and perseverant, not give up, and also one should have purity of conduct here in our life while engaging and practicing the path of the bodhisattva. Then the saint or a saintly life. He's talking about a saintly life. In the second sentence it says, there were bodhisattvas as numerous as the sands of the Ganges river, practicing by giving or dana, perseverance or kshanti. Means we can also say this is forbearance. Means difficulties come. Difficulties come. You should be able to overcome them. You should be able to accept the trouble but not give up. That is kshanti. And so on. There are 6 perfections and so on. These are called prajna paramitas. Prajna paramitas. Who also became visible to the light of the Buddha. So I highlighted this sentence for us to know that we do need to understand what these prajna paramitas are and practice them in our life with diligence. And that's why earlier it referred to discipline and integrity. Discipline and integrity. So here integrity means rujuvartana. You don't thinking one, saying one and doing different. That's not integrity. One should say the same thing, one should think the same thing, or say the same thing and do the same thing, then it is called integrity. So such an integrity is needed, and the 6 perfections we will see as they come by too, very important. So we know that there are 2 teachings that came by already. One is the 4 noble truths, and we also came to another word which is a dependent origination, and then now it is referring to prajna paramitas. We should know them and live our life with discipline and integrity if you want to succeed and gain complete knowledge equivalent to the Buddha. That is what this sentence was highlighting. Then there is one other sentence here on the next page says, the Buddha told the assembly of devas and humans, I have already taught you the meaning of the essential character of all dharmas. If you remember in the introductory sentence I read, essential character of all dharmas is nothing. Essentially, they are like space. There is non-duality there. That's what it said. Essential character of all dharmas is non-dual. There is no duality, just like empty space. So that's what I'm referring to. Today, I will enter nirvana in the middle of the night. So this speech is being said, today is my last day. So it is referring to. Okay, this is still referring to the Chandra Surya Prabha's conversation. Okay, exert yourself attentively and rid yourself of negligence. So as a final premonition or a disciplinary instruction, the Chandra Surya Prabha told his disciples at the time, please don't be negligent in practice. Please don't be negligent in practice. Whatever I said, I have already said. The dharmas are devoid of duality. They are like empty space. Know this much dharma and exert yourself attentively. Exert yourself attentively. Not shabbily, shallowly, but with full attention you follow this dharma and rid yourself of negligence. So you rid yourself of negligence, exert attentively to know this dharma. The Buddhas are extremely hard to meet and can be encountered only once in kotis of kalpas. Truly, it is hard to find a gnani in our life. Because when I practice all this, what am I going to become? At the most, like my guru, nobody else. Because I have a guru who himself exerted in his lifetime and now he reached a state of understanding. It's not that I am going to discover some other Brahman. I would discover the same Brahman that I am. So, giving up negligence or pramattata, give up pramattata and become apramatta, means be alert and devoid of sloppy, slippery nature and realize the truth. That is the instruction given by Chandra Surya Pradipa to the Bodhisattvas in his assembly eons ago. And that night the Buddha entered nirvana like a fire that goes out when the wood is exhausted. This is on page number 19. I highlighted this sentence because our major confusion is what is the nature of this liberation? There is a huge amount of literature in the Buddhism as well as Hinduism to know what is the nature of liberation. Nature of liberation. So how do I measure that I understood? You see? So before one really comes into this true understanding, the only help is of the words. So how to understand this? So explaining this in concepts has been a hard job of all the scriptures. Because until that direct experience comes, nobody knows what it is. So the maximum amount of effort is put in to convey the best possible, which cannot be described in words, is to be described. As near as possible, one should be led to, by words only, by concepts only, which cannot be grasped completely by concepts, because this buddhi, which is the source of these concepts, itself is an evolute of the source, which is the consciousness. So buddhi cannot describe consciousness because its birth is later than the consciousness itself. But still, within the limited means that are available, how to explain? Saying that Buddhism uses this word very diligently and it helps to understand. Saying, that night, the Buddha, Chandra Surya Pradipa, entered nirvana like a fire that goes out when the wood is exhausted. When the fire gets put off, we cannot say the fire went somewhere. We cannot say it went into the firewood because that itself got burnt. So the nature of nirvana to explain, they use this word saying like a fire that grows out when the wood is exhausted. Where has it gone? Where has the fire gone? Similarly, you cannot say it went somewhere. It just put off. So also, the idea of this individual notion goes off. It does not go and merge into universal self because it was all along only universal self. There was never a fire which was separate from universal fire. There was no fire separately in the firewood. Whatever expressed as fire in the firewood was the same universal fire, universal Agni, which itself is born from the self of all. Agneerapaha adhya prithvi prithivya voshadhaya. Like that when we see in the Upanishad, where Akasha Dvayuhu. So from the self, Akasha was formed. From Akasha, Vayu came. Vayoragnihi, Agneerapaha, Adhya Prithvi. From waters, the earth came. Prithivya Voshadhayaha. All these trees came about from Prithvi. Oshadibhyo Annam, Annat Purushaha. From these Oshadis are the plants, the edible food came. And having from this Annat Purushaha, all these individual beings which are saying I, etc., has all come from the Oshadi or Anna only. Because by eating the Anna, is this body is formed. And in this, it is now the consciousness shines saying I. So the individual Purushas are all evolute of that one consciousness. From Atman, Akasha came. Akasha to Vayu, Vayu Agnihi, Agneerapaha, Adhya Prithvi, Prithivya Voshadheha, Voshadibhyo Annam, Annat Purushaha. So like this, an evolution has been described in the Upanishads, and he is referring to the same. So we cannot say the fire went somewhere, because it is only the universal fire all along. It's not that there was a separate fire and this fire went and met into that. Just like we say in the Vedantic teaching, when we see a snake on the rope, it is not that there is really a snake on the rope. That when you bring a torch, it disappeared into rope. Not like that. There was never really a snake to disappear into the rope. Because it is just a kalpita. Means an imagination superimposed on reality. So the world is an imagination kalpita on the reality of Brahman or the Dharmadhatu or Dharmakaya or Tathagata Garbha. So here it says the man who is liberated, it says the fire, as if the fire that goes out when the wood is exhausted. So also Chandra Surya Pradipa attained nirvana. So these words will be helpful to us to understand so that we get rid of this notion of individual self existing. That is why I wanted to emphasize this. Then we have on page number 20, in order to reveal the essential character of dharmas, the Buddha has now emitted this ray of light in order to reveal the essential character of dharmas. So if you see in the 11th chapter of Gita, Bhagavan Sri Krishna showed Arjuna to reveal the essential character of the dharmas. Dharmas of people, dharmas of yuddha, dharmas of life and death, the cycle of birth and death, to reveal that and to show the reality of or the essential character of this kartrutva and bhoktutva. There is agency of doership and agency of enjoyership. Bhagavan Sri Krishna showed his Vishwarupa or the universal form. He showed the light which is behind this to Arjuna. Similarly here, Buddha showed a ray of light and shown the entire or illumined all the worlds. So the Bodhisattvas who are assembled at that time can understand the essential nature of two things. Essential nature of dharmas, and also we saw earlier that it revealed the conditions of those worlds, existing in those worlds, which are the result of the karma of individual beings. That presented them in those conditioned worlds. And finally, the last sentences in this chapter. Having reigned the dharma, the Buddha will satisfy those seeking the path. If there is anyone seeking the three vehicles who still has any doubts, the Buddha will completely remove them and extinguishing them with none left over. So here, Manjusri, Bodhisattva Manjusri is telling Maitreya and other Bodhisattvas assembled there, saying that if any in this assembly is having any doubts about the three vehicles of the Shravakayana, Pratyeka Buddhayana and Bodhisattvayana, which all together is called as a Buddhayana or Buddha vehicle, now this present Buddha Shakyamuni, Siddhartha Gautama, is going to reveal. That's Lotus Sutra comprising these three. The Buddha will satisfy those seeking the path. If somebody is seeking true dharma, he is going to reveal that. If there is anyone seeking the three vehicles, means they are trying to find solution for these three. Means birth and how to come out of the cycle of birth and death, how to understand the reality. If reality of no individual self, meaning all this is happening even though there are no individuals, it's happening based on the dependent origination. That understanding, and finally how to perfect in the prajna paramita, the 6 perfections, and then gain the knowledge equivalent to that of the Buddha. All these three vehicles he is going to explain. Who still has any doubts, the Buddhas will completely remove them. The Buddha will completely remove those doubts. Who still has any doubts, he will remove them, extinguishing them with none left over. Means, like we say in the Upanishad, Chiddinte chasya karmani tasmin drishte paravare. Means, vijjate hridaya granthihi. Means the knots of the heart will be removed. Means doubts will be removed completely. Vijjate hridaya chiddante sarva samsaya. All these doubts will become asunder or cut into pieces. Sarva samsaya. Kshiyante chasya karmani. Means the bonds of karma will become decayed. Kshiyante chasya karmani tasmin drishte paravare. So the para avara means that by looking at that self, one self of all, tasmin drishte paravare kshiyante chasya karmani. All the karmas will be destroyed. So like that, here in this Lotus Sutra, now that the Shakyamuni Buddha is going to reveal the true dharma. So, Bodhisattva Manjusri informs Bodhisattva Maitreya, who asked the question, on himself, on behalf of himself and the other Bodhisattvas. So we should expect to see the answers coming starting chapter 2. So chapter 2 and 3 being the introduction and the context of the Four Noble Truths being explained in chapter 2 and 3. We'll look at them. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu Buddha Charanarpanamastu.